Let's do an MLA walkthrough right now. So I have a blank document open. If you would like, you can go ahead and open up your own blank document on Google Docs or Microsoft Word. The process is similar. Yeah, so we're just going to get started here. Now, just note that for this class, we are going to be using MLA formatting for all of our papers. That is not always going to be the case. There are other formatting guides. There's Chicago Manual, there's APA, but MLA and APA are typically the two that you will need to learn throughout your college years. So I would highly recommend that um, for your classes just throughout the semesters, that you double check what format the essay should be in, because every class is it's usually one or the other, but you want to just double check. In this class, we will be using MLA, so I will be only going over MLA. So here I have a document, and I'm going to start with the header. Now the header can be accessed by simply double clicking up here somewhere in the top. So I'm just going to double click and boom, look, we see header here. And it's the same thing if I were to scroll all the way down and then just click down here, I'll see the footer. Now, in formatting, you typically do not want to mess with the footer. Typically. There are certain cases in which you would, but that's not in the scope of this class. Okay. For this class, please leave the footer empty. Now, we're going to go to the header, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add page numbers and our last name. And so we're going to go over here, and we're going to go to Format, page numbers here. And you'll see here we want it in the header, and we want it to start at 1. You can start at any number really, but we're going to start at 1, and we want it to start on the first page. Why would you ever want it to not be on the first page? Well, APA format, you want to start, you have a cover page, and then you have, so it's a little different. MLA, for now, we are going to have it on the first page. And so we just say apply, and you'll see we have a number 1 there. Now we do want it on this side of the document. So make sure that it is aligned to the right. And then we have our last name here. So I'm going to put last name. Okay. But you put your last name. Do not put your last name. Make sure you put in your actual last name. And now to make sure that we have the formatting correct, you're going to want to change it to size 12, Chinese New Roman. Okay, so it should be like that, and then you just click out, and it will be here. Please do not type the number in yourself. All right, let me just show you why. I'm adding some pages here. How, because I chose format page numbers, the document itself will put in the number and change it on every page by default. If you type in the number yourself, okay, if I were to just like delete that and just type in 1 myself, and I scroll down, it's going to say 1, and it's going to say 1 on every page. Okay, so you cannot type in yourself. If I were to say, oh, I want to change it to 2 here on the second page, I go down, it's just going to say 2. I go all the way up, it says 2. Okay, and so we cannot do that. You actually need to just say format page numbers and then add it into the header there, like so. Okay, so that's the first thing that you want to do. After that, in the body of the paper, you're not going to have your heading. Okay, the heading of the body of the paper is going to have your name. Okay, so I'm going to put here student name. And then it's going to have my name. So you're going to put it here. Make sure you spell my name correctly. Please spell my name correctly. And then you're going to have the class name, which is going to be English C1000. And then you're going to have the date due. Okay, so depending on which essay you are writing, you're going to want to make sure you type the date that the paper is due. Now, this may change if you ask for a deadline extension, but please make sure that that is the date that you use. Otherwise, it is an incorrect date. Okay, now from there, you're going to go into the next line. You're going to want to center, and you're going to put a title. Okay, I don't really care what the title, I'm just going to put title here. I can always go back and change it. You're going to press enter again, and then you're going to align it over. You can press tab, or you can just, I prefer to drag the indent over 1/2 inch. I just grab the rectangle up here and I move it over 0.5, and then start your intro paragraph here. You should have the foundational information, practicing our method of going from general information to specific information so that the reader can understand the context of your argument and not get lost. Somewhere in here, you'll, not probably, you'll want the thesis statement. This may be in the end of our introduction, as that is typically where the thesis statement fits best, but it is not required. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So here from there, this is pretty much what you're asking. We need to make sure that format-wise, you have three things. Font size must be 12. Times New Roman is the font style. Okay, there's no other option. It's Times New Roman, size 12, and it needs to be double spaced. You're going to go here where it says line and paragraph spacing, and then you're going to double. Okay, and that's it. Notice that a couple of things that students get wrong and then points get taken off. Please do not have an extra space between the heading and the title. There is no extra space. Now, I am aware if Google Docs, I think they have a default like MLA template for you. They add an extra space here. You're not supposed to have it. Please do not just leave it as so. Do not have an extra space between the title and the essay. Don't do that. Okay. When you move on from there, when you move on from the intro, notice how because I dragged the little rectangle up here half an inch, every time I press enter, it will automatically indent for me for every new paragraph. So I prefer to drag. Here, from there, you want to start your first body paragraph, and so on and so forth. Now, another thing to note, please do not have an extra space between paragraphs. You're just not supposed to. Okay. Another thing that students often, I think this is more often occurrence if you use Microsoft Word. You might come across something that looks like this, where you have an extra spacing in addition to the double spacing. That is not correct spacing, and you will get marked down for that. Okay, notice how can you tell? Notice how here, the spacing between lines, here in the intro are uniform, but between paragraphs, there's an increase, right? It's not the exact same as in between the lines of the paragraph. And it's the same thing here. We get the same with here. If you see it like this, you must change it because I can absolutely tell the difference. Here's what the difference looks like. This is with the extra spacing. This is with, I'm just going to remove. This is without. Okay, so, oh, sorry. Okay. So please make sure that you have the proper spacing. But this is pretty much what the body of your document is going to be. Okay, so a couple other things that I want to note here. You want to start your first body paragraph. Soon after your first couple of sentences, you'll want a quote from the author. Last number, period. Okay, so here's a couple things that I want you to note. We need a cite when we quote. And so, actually, I think I'll just go over this in order. I'm sorry. So notice here in my sentence, I embed the quote into the sentence. I do not have just simply on its own after the period. I do not have the quote as its own sentence. Okay, please do not quote like that. Your quote needs to be what we say embedded into your own sentence. Not doing so is going to obstruct the flow of your paper. So we need to practice embedding quotes this way. Not doing so, having the sentence, the quote as a sentence in and of itself, quoting, which is not typically accepted by professors. So we want to be careful with that. Try your best to embed your quote sentence. This could be simply as simple as saying, Pan states early in her essay that and then quote here. And then we have can, and then the page number, I don't know, 27, let's say, as an example. I don't have it off the top of my head, right? Or we could say, Cisneros later on repeats her statement when she says, and then quote goes here. And then we have, her last name, Cisneros, and then, I don't know, like 34, whatever the page number is supposed to be. So that is how you embed. That is going to help with the flow of your paper. So we want to practice doing that. That's the first thing to note when you put a quote in your paper. Second thing to note is that the comma comes before the quote. This is pretty standard. Okay, but that there's no period here. A period actually comes at the end outside your citation. It is going to be your quote, end quote, space. You're then gonna have open parentheses, the last name of the author, the page number, close parentheses, period. Okay, and it must be in this order. Notice how I practiced it here. We have a space, open quote, 1027, close parentheses, period. Same thing, space after the quotation mark, open parentheses, last name, page number, close parentheses, period. It needs to be in that order. That is the order, that's the formatting rule for MLA formatting. So please follow that. Now, there is one thing that I do need you. If you state the name of the author, you're actually not supposed to have the last name there. So this would be the correct way to go about it. Okay? If you don't, you just simply have the pronoun, then you want the last name in the parentheses. Okay, so that's another rule that we want to note here. Yeah, okay. So that is pretty much how the body of your paper is going to go. Now, on the page, I have provided for you a link. If you click the link, you will get to Purdue OWL, and Purdue OWL is an online source that is pretty standard among the writing community. Anyone who uses MLA or APA typically refers to Purdue OWL for all the rules and guidelines because you're not expected to remember them all. It's quite a bit of rules. I am able to remember it all because I've written quite a few papers. And so that's just, for the most part, I don't need to look up most things. And that will happen to you the more papers you write as well. You're expected to remember everything. You're just expected to know to look things up, which I'm pretty sure I've said this before. Okay, and so if you click the link, you'll notice this web page here. And this is the MLA formatting and style guide. And so you see here, general format. If you open, you'll notice actually that this page, if it loads, the page outlines everything that I just told you on the document. You want to double space, right? Times New Roman, size 12, leave only 1/6 after periods, margins are 1 inch on all sides, which was default there. And then the first line of each paragraph, 1/2 inch, that numbers all pages consecutively. Yeah. Okay, and so it's pretty much, it's really everything that's it. And here you'll see we have a sample first page in MLA style. It looks pretty much like this document that I right. You see here we have the student name, professor name, class name, date due, title. There is no extra space. There is no space, and then our paragraphs. Okay, and so that is pretty much, yeah. And so that's pretty much what this website is for you to review the rules. Now, if my video was, the first half of this video was not helpful, this is where you want to refer to this. Pretty much, if I were to take any points off for formatting on your paper, and it is something that you practiced because of the rule that's in Purdue, you can tell me where you found it, and I will. We all follow Purdue. And so that's where all of the rules are going to be. And if you think I somehow made a mistake in grading a paper, this is where you want to go. This is your reference that you should follow. This is a reference I will follow. All of the rules I follow are going to be from here. And so you want to strictly use Purdue OWL as a reference. other, there's obviously other references that you can use, other web pages that try to help students with MLA formatting, but Purdue OWL is pretty much the tried and true one that all teachers will recommend. Okay? And okay, most teachers will recommend, and pretty much there is no teacher that will refute it. I don't know anyone who will actually disagree with Purdue OWL. Okay, so just something to consider. Use this as a reference, as a starting point. You'll see here we have the basics of in-text citations, the works cited page, which we are going to go into next week, and then all these MLA sources. You also have right here along the side MLA sample paper. I highly recommend that you click that and review that here. That's really small here, where you can open it up on your end. Um, and then some students like to print it out because then it's like full size and it's easier to read. But you'll notice here that there's a whole paper 10 pages long with annotations everywhere to point out everything that is important for how to go about formatting your paper, what it looks like throughout the document of the paper, what the works cited page will look like at the end. Here we have notes, which is not going to be relevant for our paper. That is just something that's practiced. You'll probably practice it later on, but not in this class. And then the works cited page, and then all of this is just here for you. So this is a amazing source. And I highly recommend that you browse it and use it as you are finalizing your paper and formatting it before turning it in. Yeah. And so this is pretty much what I do in an in-person class as well. I just walk students through how to do the document bit by bit. Okay, so if you run across any questions that you might have, go ahead and just let me know, shoot me an email, or you can visit a professor and at the tutoring center and then ask them. Um, yeah, but this is the starting point for formatting.